So I should have recognized there, right then and there, that this was not a healthy relationship, and it continued to be a non-healthy relationship, arguing, fighting, crazy stuff like that. She didn't have a bank, and she was divorced. She was divorced. I probably guess why. She didn't have a bank account, so she would cash her checks and hide her money in her set of encyclopedias. And she'd get so stoned she would forget where she had her money. So at some point I realized, all right, I do not need to be in this relationship anymore. So I break up with her, and like Jerry Seinfeld said once, breaking up with somebody, it's like a Coke machine. When you try and tip over a Coke machine, it takes two good tries. So I broke up with her once, got back together, and then about a month later, I'm like, I'm really breaking up. So I broke up with her, and it stuck. And this was kind of inconvenient because she lived literally not even a mile from my house. So she would just show up outside the door, beating on the door. It was like an episode of Cops. It was horrible. So we break up. Don't hear anything from her. She's gone. And then, well, I start to hear some stuff. She needs some money, so I loaned her some money. Yada, 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 yada. So I don't hear anything about her for a while, and then I'm at Barnes and Noble in February or January or February of the next year. We had been broken up since about November, and my phone rings. I remember exactly what section I was in, exactly where I was standing, and I look at the phone, see her name come up there. And hello, Jamie, and she's like, hi. She's like, how are you? I said, I'm fine. I'm like, I thought she was going to ask for money or something. Well, she goes, I got something to tell you. I'm like, okay. She's like, are you sitting down? And I said, no. And then all of a sudden, all the blood just dropped out of my body. This is the moment that my mom had warned me about and told me about, and I'm like, this is the end of my life as I know it. And she goes, guess what? And I said, what? She goes, I got married. Oh. And I said, congratulations. So she got married, and long story short, she ended up getting arrested for domestic violence in Michigan on her honeymoon. So I have neither seen nor heard from her since then, thank God. And as a good God-fearing boy, by now I was a God-fearing boy. It's like, man, your life is going absolutely sideways. You've got to figure out what you're going to do. So I started, I said, well, I need to go back to church. So I went to a Presbyterian church down in Chattanooga, and it didn't feel like the Presbyterian church where I went the first time, the one that I liked in Cincinnati. It felt real Southern Baptist. It was nothing against Southern Baptist, but I left that for a reason. I'm like, no, that's not working for me. So I started thinking about this, started thinking about that, and it's like, well, you've done this one, you've done this one. It's like, you think, you tell everybody you're Irish, even though I thought I was. My mom told me I was. She was wrong. Come to find out, she lied too. And that's how I got in. This is one of the first lies. This is how I got in good with my boss, because I lied to him and told him that I was Irish. And so I sang the rebel songs, and he was so one day I'm talking to him. I'm like, I'm thinking about going. I told him what had happened. He's like, yeah, you need to get your life together. And then he says, I was like, well, I'm thinking about going to Catholic church. And he goes, you're not Catholic? And I said, no. I said, I'm not. He's like, I thought you were. I'm like, no. I was like, well, might as well give it a shot. So I started, I bought Catholicism for Dummies, and which is actually, you laugh, it's a good resource. It's a good, very basic explanation of what faith is. So anyway, so this was 2000, so I broke up with her in 2003. Broke up with her in 2002, and then started going to Catholic church in 2003. First time I went was for Ash Wednesday. It's like, well, everybody go. I mean, I knew what Ashes were. Presbyterians did this. I'm like, well, it's Wednesday. All right, so I'll go. I'll go to Ash Wednesday. So this was 15, 16 years ago. And so I get out of the car, get in the parking lot, and there's all these cars, and I chickened out. I didn't know what to expect. Because again, when you're, to be a Catholic in Southeast Tennessee, you don't know what to expect. I mean, like I said, I didn't have any preconceived notions. I just knew that it wasn't at all like what I grew up with. So, chickened out. Drove up the street, went to a Presbyterian church, and everybody was so nice. They were inviting me to, why don't you come out for this, come out for that. Super nice. Last time anybody was ever nice to me visiting a church ever in my life. Because we're Catholics, we're horrible at it. So the next Sunday, got up, went to Mass, asked the deacon, asked the usher, and said, hey, I'm new. I was like, he said, what do I do? He's like, just follow along. I'm like, okay. So I sat back in the back left-hand corner, and I remember, as a Baptist, everything comes up from the front, right? The choir comes out from the sides, the preacher walks up, sits there, deacons are up there, and all of a sudden all these people start coming in the back door, and there was a priest, a deacon, servers. I thought the deacon was the bishop. I had no idea what was going on. It's like he was really old and had a lot of white hair, so I'm like, this must be the bishop. So come to find out, I didn't even know the difference between the priest and the deacon. So the priest comes out, there's mass, and from the very beginning of that processional, I knew that there was something going on. That's my first aha moment. So I have that aha moment, and then fast forward. So then I keep coming back. I wanted to come back. I kept coming back. I liked it. I enjoyed it. So and then I found out, wait, you can do this on Saturdays too. So I would go to mass on Saturday, and then wait a minute, you can come in this place. The doors are open. You can pray in here. It was right on the way home from Dalton to where I lived, and I'd get up, I'd come in the afternoons, and I'd pray. And I'm like, this is really great. So now I'm starting to feel like, well, there's something going on here. So I approached the priest and said, hey, I'd like to think about becoming Catholic. He goes, hey, that's great, but it's going to take a year, because I came into the church, I talked to him the week after Holy Week. I'm like, okay, that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. So I started meeting with him over the summer, then started going to RCIA, and then that summer, this is point number 2. I was reading a book by Thomas Merton. I went to that same Barnes & Noble and bought this book. I was looking for a book by Thomas More, because that's the only saint that I ever knew, because there was a St. Thomas More College in Louisville, so that's the only thing I knew about. So I went in looking for St. Thomas More, and I ended up buying a book by Thomas Merton. Didn't even know the difference. So I get back, and if you haven't read Seven Story Mountain, I'm sure most of you probably have, that's my conversion story right there, between Merton's and St. Augustine's, between this complete heathen, carnal acting person who just didn't have any need or respect or want for any type of spirituality, and then a massive change. So I was talking to Father Mike Nolan, and I said, hey, I read this book by this guy. He's like, you ever heard of him? He's like, yeah, I've heard of him. Stupid. Father Mike has a very good way of making you feel stupid sometimes. He's like, yeah, I know. And then I said, well, I heard about this place called Gethsemane. He's like, yeah. Well, the town where I grew up in central Kentucky was 45 minutes from Gethsemane Abbey. I never knew it was there the whole time. So I said, hey, he said, why don't you go and make a retreat? And I said, well, I'm not Catholic. He's like, yeah, I know you're not Catholic, but you can still go. So the weekend of July 4th in 2003, I went to Gethsemane. Got in there, I was terrified, absolutely terrified, scared to death. I was going to go for a 5-day retreat, silent retreat. Had never done that before, didn't know what it looked like, didn't know what was going to happen. But got there, went, and within the first 30 minutes, I was sitting outside on a bench under a tree, looking out the field, and was praying or just looking up at the hayfield, and I just started crying. Just started crying and sobbing my eyes out, and this went on for a good 30 minutes. So, the good Lord was ripping me open and was preparing to do spiritual surgery, which He did for the rest of that week. So the rest of that week went on. I was just in this kind of spiritual religious experience, kind of nirvana. Didn't know what was going on, but when I left, I think, well, I want to be a monk. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, because I hated my job at that point, despised it, didn't want to do it, had all the stuff. I had a Rolex, had a BMW, had a house on the golf course, had all that stuff, absolutely miserable. And it's like, so after years of discernment, I came to find out that was just more of an escape fantasy to run away from the world. So, but then as it goes on, I start to ask this question. Well, I still think I've got a vocation. I think I'm being called to something, but I don't know what. So I haven't told anybody this, because if you knew me then, nobody would ever believe it. Nobody would ever believe that this would ever happen to me. If you think St. Paul on the way to Damascus, it was that much of a radical change for me. So eventually, over time, I start to think about vocation, start to think about it, start to pray about it, and to make the long story short, I get, every night I go to bed. So this is over the course of about 6 months. I wasn't even Catholic yet, right? I had not even gone through the Easter Vigil, but I'm thinking about, I'm either full in or full out. So I was, every morning, first thing I'd wake up in the morning, I'd think about it, I'd worry about it all day, and then I go to bed at night, it's like, you're going to be a priest, or you're going to be a monk, you're going to be a priest. And every single day, I worry about it. This went on for a good 3 or 4 months. So one night, Saturday night, I was kneeling down at the foot of the bed, just quintessential praying, just exactly what, it looks like in a movie. That, Lord, I do not know what you want me to do. I have no idea, but but whatever you want, if you let me know, I will do it. Thy will be done. You just got to get off of my back. And so I went to bed that night, got up the next morning, got out of bed. This is the other PG-13 part. Go into the bathroom, standing there, go into the bathroom, standing there peeing. And I'm like, wow, I didn't wonder this morning about whether I was going to be a monk or a priest. And this intuitive voice says, because you're going to be a priest. And I'm like, well, that's what I wanted, and that's what I got. So it wasn't like I didn't hear, it was intuitive. I don't hear voices that much. But it was that intuitive voice, and so I said, okay, I got it. That's what you said I'm supposed to do, and that's what I'm going to do. So that was number 3. So it's all started out with me lying about being Catholic, with me, committing fornication, and all these things came together to move me onto that path. And so. After I came into the church, and a couple times Father Mike Nolan said, you're going to be a good priest someday. And I was like, how do you know what's going on in my head? Literally, when you got a 39-year-old guy who's single coming through the church, who's kind of on fire, it's probably a pretty good idea that might have been what was going to happen. So I got to tell my dad before he died. I mentioned this story once before, but he was dying of cancer. I was going to visit him in the ICU room, and I wanted to talk to him. I wanted to tell him, at least before he died, that this is what I was planning on doing, because I still hadn't told my mom yet. So he's got that CPAP on, you know how those things are. I couldn't hardly hear him, he couldn't hear me, so I took the CPAP off and said, I wasn't trying to hasten things. So I said, Dad, hey, I just want to tell you, I think I'm going to go. And let me go back. They had no problems with me becoming Catholic. Mom was just happy I was back in the church again. So I told Dad, I was like, hey, I think I'm going to go to seminary to study to be a Catholic priest. And so now I was expecting some great, father-son revelation, and he goes, is that a full-time job? It's a full-time job. Don't worry, probably got benefits and everything. So he died a few days later, didn't tell him, and then I went, so I started meeting with Father Mike Nolan, then I met with Father P. Iorio, who was the vocation director at the time, and I didn't know. It's like, hell, this is what God's telling me to do. This is what I want to do. I had no idea that they didn't let people who were just coming to the church go to seminary. That they usually make you wait for 2 years. But I met with Bishop Kurtz. Bishop Kurtz says it's okay with the seminary, it's okay with me. And seminary said it's okay with you, it's okay with us. So in 2000, I became Catholic in 2004, and then in fall of 2005, I started at Conception Seminary College, which was Benedictine monastery. That was their apostolate. So learned how to pray with the monks there for 2 years, and then went to St. Charles Borromeo in Philadelphia, and was there for 4 years, and learned what it meant to be in a Catholic culture, to be in Philadelphia, very Catholic. Well, not as much as it used to be, but it's inundated with all that. So that's it. Then got ordained a deacon in 2010, ordained a priest in 2011, and St. John Newman for 2 years, St. Thomas the Apostle for 5 years, and here I am today. So. Yeah. That's it in 25 minutes. So it is a little scandalous, but again, it's I lived a life that most people, that most guys my age were living, and if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here. So I'm glad I got out with my skin, quite frankly. So.
And no children.
And no children. Yeah, I know. I was terrified. It was.
Having children is terrifying.
Yeah. Yes, especially with that person. So. Any questions?
How did you part with your worldly possessions?
No, actually it was great. I had a ton of crap. I wasn't a hoarder, but I told that story before. I had 3 closets full of clothes. My sister would give me hand-me-downs from my brother-in-law, who was a real clothes horse. But the only thing that was interesting was that he's 6'3" and had a 30-inch waist, and I was not 6'3" and have never had a 30-inch waist. So, but I still kept his clothes. So I mean, I got rid of everything, donated, threw away, and it was amazing. I got myself down to 8 plastic tubs in the back of my Honda Element. Had to get rid of the BMW. So, but the Honda Element served me well. And then, so I just lived out of that for, my mom. Dad was dead. My relationship with my mother was horrible. My mom was manic depressive, so basically I avoided home and did anything I could to stay away from there. She died 2014, so she died a few years ago. She had a lifelong smoker, had heart disease, died of, she had 3 triple bypasses, that didn't kill her. Smoking, heart disease, ended up giving her lung cancer. Then she got the shingles, fell, had broke her hip, got dementia, and died. So the end was not pretty. So,
You have to go, Father.
yes.
Your
All right.
brothers or sisters?
I have 1 sister who lives in Atlanta with my 2 nieces and 1 nephew. I baptized my sister. I confirmed my sister and baptized 2 of my kids and confirmed my mom on her walker in her room a month before she died. So I got her.
Wow.
So anyway, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
warmed them up for you.
Thanks.